Did you know that when the calculator was first invented, mathematicians would literally protest its use because they were so scared that people wouldn't know how to do maths anymore? They especially wanted to ban calculators in schools because they were scared it would harm student learning. However, we know that's not the case. You can still do a maths A-level calculator exam and still not get 100%. Just having a calculator does not guarantee you success because you've got to use your brain and your maths knowledge to make it do something incredible. And our bestie AI is the same. Left, right, and center, schools are banning the use of AI. They are banning ChatGPT on their premises, they're banning it for use in homework, and they're scared of students cheating. When really, AI cannot really produce anything of real note unless you have three things. You gotta know A, how best to prompt it, B, its limitations, of which there are many, and C, enough critical thinking to improve the result and to identify biases. Today's video is one that I have been wanting to make since May because I have so much to say. I really hope this video gives you a deep understanding of ChatGPT, how to use it to elevate your learning, but also what its limitations are and why you've got to be careful. For context, hi, my name is Jade and I just graduated an undergraduate degree in cognitive science with a specialism in the science of learning, and I am just genuinely so passionate about thinking about education and how it's changing, how it can be better, and I'm so interested on the influence of AI in education that I went to London EdTech Week. I've spoken to a lot of educators about this issue, and I have used AI a lot in my own learning to create my dissertation, to help me with essays, brainstorming. And I know in this video it is so tempting to skip to the part just where you can help your grades using ChatGPT, but I really encourage you to watch this whole video. I want you to be informed. Like, if a teacher comes up to you and asks why you're using ChatGPT, like you're cheating, I want you to have a really well-informed response to say to this teacher about why you're using it, why it's amazing, why it's challenging education for the better, and also why you're aware of its limitations so that you're using it responsibly. So firstly, is using AI or ChatGPT to do your homework, to write your essays, considered cheating? I've spoken to a lot of different educators in the UK and also in San Francisco, and some of the main fears that they have are that students just aren't gonna bother thinking anymore. Like, students will just be given the answers, they won't engage in deep thinking, deep processing. They're scared that so much of the learning process comes from sitting with an idea, from pondering it in your own mind, and now with ChatGPT just giving you the answer, you know, students are missing out on that important middle process. And why do they think that? Well, ChatGPT, I don't know if you've seen it, but like, it seems to omnisciently know everything. The answers are just pretty damn good. And secondly, it's currently impossible for teachers and educators to actually identify if something is written by AI or written by a student. Like, there are tools that people have tried to create to determine whether something is written by a person or by an AI tool, and they are not accurate. They have like 10% accuracy. So I really resonate with educators about why this is an issue for them, because if it's not being used right, they can't even really tell. But I would like to argue that students should not only be allowed to use ChatGPT, but I truly believe it should be encouraged and embraced in the education system. Why is that? Because we need to ask, what is the purpose of education? This is a philosophical question. There are many reasons why we need an education, but three of like the main reasons that I've identified are: firstly, for one day, us to get a job or a career. We go to school to hopefully learn the skills necessary to get the future job of our dreams. Secondly, we go to school to learn, to expand our ability to think about the world, to think critically about it. And thirdly, to become better citizens, to one day be able to relate to all sorts of people we meet in the world, to understand the historical processes that have shaped the society that we live in, and using that understanding to then improve society, make it better. With that being said, let's look at what AI can do. Firstly, McKinsey, a very reputable source, has said that 80% of jobs will be disrupted by AI in the next 5 years. Some jobs may cease to exist, but most will just change in their nature. And so rather than blocking AI in our schools, we should be teaching students how to better adopt it so that they can go into the working world and use it properly. And secondly, to improve our critical thinking, well, AI comes up with things that are generally limited and have a lot of biases within them. And I think we should be teaching students, you know, how to really engage with the things that AI outputs and not to trust it blindly. And school is such a perfect place to develop that skill. We've also got to learn how to prompt it correctly, how to specifically word our inquiry. And thirdly, to become better citizens, we've got to understand the biases in the way that we work, in the way that we engage with the world. And I think AI is such an amazing place to start to understand these biases. Because guys, how does ChatGPT actually work? A giant misconception that students and teachers have about ChatGPT is that it is this infinite repository of knowledge, a bit similar to Google. You Google something, there's just all the world's knowledge and it gives you a wonderful, perfect answer. But ChatGPT is not a repository of knowledge, it is a language model. A language model is trained on the data of the internet. It basically uses this data to spot patterns. So all it's doing when you're asking it a question is it is producing the most logical sentence based on an infinity of existing data. So it's just using this training data to give you the most probable next word in a sentence. Let's look at an example to understand what that means. Okay, so here I asked ChatGPT, you are a creative writer, describe to me a character who is the perfect CEO. And you know what it came back with? Meet Alexander Grant, a paragon of leadership and the epitome of a perfect CEO with his commanding presence and unwavering confidence. So we've got a man. We've got a man. And, you know, we've got a lovely description of his suit. I can almost certainly predict that this guy is like a white middle-aged guy, because what ChatGPT is doing is it's giving you the most probable outcome based on a huge training set of all the data, where in society most of our CEOs are male, most of our CEOs are white, and so the most probable outcome is reflecting this existing bias in our data, in our society. So this is where you need to start getting critical, because if we have misogyny in our training data, we will have misogyny in anything that AI creates. Here we go. What are some of the biggest limitations of ChatGPT? Proneness to bias and inaccurate information. Self-awareness though, we love that. So our issue number 1 is bias. Our issue number 2 is that it lacks human real-world understanding. It's just giving you most probable outcomes based on its training data. So it lacks, you know, sometimes empathy or emotional intelligence. And we just have to remember that it's not human. It's not yet to the level of human brain where it can filter out the information that it should give you. And thirdly, so important to know is that you have the inability to verify information. ChatGPT is not citing its sources. As a university student, you know citations, evidence-based is key. You can't write any line without citing it somewhere, and yet for some reason ChatGPT is allowed to come up with all these opinions as though they're fact, and we can't verify them. And when you can't verify, you don't know if that source is from 20 years ago, from 5 years ago, from yesterday, like what data is being used to give me this opinion. For example, I once used ChatGPT to write me an essay. I thought, let's give it a go. I'm feeling lazy. And I even thought I'd be smart and say, cite your sources. Let's save myself from doing the research. Came up with a gorgeous paragraph. I read it, I was very chuffed, it looked professional, it looked exquisite, but before I used it or adapted it, I thought, let me just look up one of these citations that it's given me. I searched up the academic paper, and it didn't exist. It had cited something that didn't exist. The author didn't exist, the paper didn't exist, the citation was entirely made up. And so you've just got to be so careful. Even when being given citations, you actually can't trust those. So it's just so important to know that when you are getting it to write anything for you, like what is the source that they're using to give me this? Okay, so now that you know the main limitations, you know what constitutes cheating, why teachers are scared of it, you know how ChatGPT works, let's get into how can you best use this for your education, because there are so many opportunities and I really do think it's transforming learning. Here are just 8 creative ways that you can use it to improve your student journey. Okay, so here I have ChatGPT 3. You can also pay for ChatGPT 4, but I'm just using the free version. The first amazing way to use it for studying is summarization. When you've got a heavy amount of text, you just want to quickly skim through it. You don't want to spend like hours going through 29 pages. That is something that ChatGPT is amazing at, just summarizing summarizing the key points, and I really recommend being as specific as possible with your prompt. For example, I have this citation of a paper that I need to read for a university lecture. I am going to read the paper, but I kind of want to get a summary of what it's about, the main points. So I'm going to get specific, saying summarize it in X amount of words, hopefully with this goal. I am attending a lecture about individual differences in motivation. Perfect. Please include any limitations of this paper and its conclusions. So I'm being even more specific. How mind-blowing is this, guys? Literally look, so cool. Here we go. So I've got a general summary of the paper. I've got a description of two of the main theories that they've brought up, entity theory and incremental theory. But because I was specific with my prompt, I've also got some limitations and I've got the conclusions of the paper. This is super helpful for note-taking. And of course, you should actually go read the paper yourself. You should critically engage with it because this is limited, but that can save you so much time and really guide your reading. Okay, the second best way to use ChatGPT is the infinite roleplay possibilities. So it's very easy to say, you are an expert in quantum physics. You are an A-level maths teacher that's been teaching for 50 years. So you kind of put ChatGPT into the role that you want to get advice from. So say, for example, I'm trying to improve my German. I can say, you are an expert German tutor. I am your student. I know very basic German. I have decent vocab, but my grammar's not very good. I want to practice having conversations in German. And then what's really important to do in roleplay situations is to give ChatGPT a format of response. So for example, you will have a basic conversation with me in the format of asking a simple question, wait for my response, then correct my response, reply, and ask another question. And you can even say, do you understand? Just so that they get it. I tried this out earlier, it was so good. Look, yeah, I understand. Like, that makes sense. Like, I can help you with your German. Let's start. And then the first question, what is your name? And I said, hi, my name's Jade, and you? Like, where do you come from? Oh, I'm come from England, near London. And already I'm getting some corrections for my grammar, which is so amazing. And I probably wouldn't spot this myself. Like, oh, do you listen to German music? And I said, yeah, I listen to German rap. I listen to these two. And it's corrected my grammar. Rather than Deutsche Rap, I should have said Deutschen Rap. And like also capitalized rap. So it's just an amazing, amazing tool to practice your language learning. Any skill that you're trying to improve, you can give ChatGPT the role play of being an expert to learn from. Okay, another amazing tool is to ask it to generate flashcard questions for you. So sometimes making flashcards can take a long time, and it is very good to do some active learning to create these questions yourself. But if you're in a time crunch, you have 10 lectures that week, you just need to instantly make something to revise from, you can ask ChatGPT to summarize information, class notes, readings into helpful questions that you can then put into flashcards. So say, for example, I've got these two readings from a university lecture. It'd probably be even better if I put my class notes in, but I'm just going to try it with these readings. So I say, imagine that you are a student. I always anthropomorphize, I think that's the word, anthropomorphize ChatGPT, and I want to be like, thanks so much, thanks bestie. Okay, these are very good. Obviously you can be more specific if you know what's going to come up on a test, but question, what is the primary focus of Ogden's paper on health promotion? It's a bit of a weak answer, I'm not going to lie. It'd be better if I had class notes. This is a good question. What role does ability play in Fogg's behavior model? Ability refers to the individual's capability to perform the desired behavior. What are some practical applications of it in health promotion? You get the idea. You put in a bunch of information, it will literally generate the flashcards for you. So good. And then you can go and put these in Anki or Quizlet. Okay, the fourth way to develop your critical thinking about a subject is to ask ChatGPT to write you a mini essay about a topic that you're learning. Say, for example, you've been given a question in English literature about Othello. You can get it to write the essay, and then you can critique it. You can see, does this fit the opinion that I have? How could this be better? Why is this weak? And through actively trying to make something better, you're actually using a lot of skills and knowledge. Imagine you exam. Sorry, ChatGPT. Write an 800-word essay about Othello. That's taken me back, that is. And obviously I can be more specific, like include an introduction, conclusion, etc. Here we go. It's even got some quotes. That's impressive. In Act 1, Scene 3, she boldly declares, "I do perceive here a divided duty. To you I am bound for life and education." It's good. I would improve it. I feel like it can be deeper for sure, but it's a nice start and it's getting me thinking, and it's interesting to see which quotes they're using. Fun addition, you can then also ask ChatGPT to grade their essay and to discuss how they could have made it better. So imagine you are now, it would get, deliberation. Okay, they're being honest, they had a clear thesis statement, good structure, etc. Interesting, so they would give their essay a B. So if you wanted to get an example essay that would get you an A star or be, really incredible, you'd have to specify that because they're just giving you an essay, not necessarily a good essay. Number 5 is to give yourself creative writing prompts. So me and my good friend Ruby, we were just trying to improve our writing skills, and we asked ChatGPT to generate us 5 potential first opening lines to a story. And then we would take half an hour to write a short story with that given prompt. And then we asked ChatGPT to write a story with that prompt, and we just compared them and had a discussion about the outcomes. I am writing a short story in the UK. Let's see. Amidst the rolling hills of the English countryside. Ooh, in the heart of London, where double-decker buses roamed and Big Ben stood tall, a magical anomaly was about to unravel. This is great practice. If you have, your English language exam and you have to do a creative writing piece, you can get used to just writing with given prompts. Number 6 is the Socratic method. And this is a learning technique where you're asked a lot of questions to deepen your understanding of something. So you could say, imagine you are my teacher. I am your student. My understanding of this process. Brilliant. Here we go. So I've got some questions. What is the primary purpose of respiration and why is it essential for all living organisms? And then I can type my response. Wow, they've given me a lot of questions here. But the beauty is when I type my response, I can also get clarification. And this really will deepen my understanding through answering all these questions. It's a very active process. This is great for science of learning. Number 7 is to ask it to grade your homework after you've done it, ideally, and to get ChatGPT to explain things more deeply. We can't all afford a tutor, or, maybe we can't always lean on our peers or friends or teachers to help us all the time. And so to have this tool that can really explain to you the mistakes in your homework and give you advice for how to do it better next time is really useful, as long as you then do the work to actually make effort and try next time. It's just like a free tutor. So good. What's especially useful is if you always use the same chat rather than starting a new one every time for a certain topic. So say I'm training ChatGPT to be my biology tutor. Over time, it'll learn what my weaker areas are, what my strengths are, what I generally get wrong, and it can use that to give me a very personalized learning experience. Number 8 is use ChatGPT as a brainstorming partner when you're writing an essay. I genuinely wouldn't ask it to write the essay for you because I don't think it's that good a lot of the time, and I think you can do a better job, and so much learning comes from the active process of you trying to write that essay. But to brainstorm your points to include, to challenge you, to deepen your own ideas, it's a great thought partner. I think that pesticide use has more negative externalities than justify its use. Challenge me. Here we go. They're telling me why we need pesticides. They're giving me the opposite side. They're really challenging my view, which is great because then I can write an even deeper essay. Such a useful tool. So those are just some of the best ways that you can use ChatGPT for your learning, but I would really remember to do these 3 best practices. Number 1, ask ChatGPT to cite its sources and make the effort to independently verify them where you can. Bing's AI tool is actually a lot better than ChatGPT for this because they do include links and citations, so you can easily go verify them. Number 2, critically think any biases that this piece you've just been given has, and then you can tailor your prompt to remove that bias. So for example, write me an incredible credible CEO character that removes misogyny and gender bias. And number 3, practice writing your prompts in different ways and notice how it changes the response that you get. This is how you can really master the skill of being able to prompt AI properly. So how did my university best use AI? It was actually really cool. Sometimes our task before a class would be to run a question by ChatGPT. We'd bring the answer into class and then we'd spend half of the class analysing why these answers were limited. For example, if we studied a research paper about blind sight and asked ChatGPT to summarise that, the question in class might be, what are the limitations of this summary, given that you as a student have read that paper? Like, what does ChatGPT miss? How can you improve it? And I really love how they embrace the use of ChatGPT. They taught us to see it critically and not as something that we should take for granted, and also encouraged us to read the paper ourselves. I believe that the influence of AI as it grows will continually challenge our education system for the better. It forces us to really question the goals of education and whether those goals should just be rote memorization and ticking some boxes on a test. There is a new pressure to get students to genuinely care about their own learning, because it's easy for them to just get the answer right, but you have to motivate them. Why should students try? Why should they intrinsically want to learn? And I think that's good. I think the education system needs that shake up. And lastly, I think there's going to be more focus on big thinking, creative thinking, connecting the dots, doing all the things that humans do best. Deeper levels of learning, because what ChatGPT allows us to do is to find the information more quickly, to give us some brainstorming, to give us some ideas, and then we can apply all our human brilliance on top. So guys, go experiment with AI. I genuinely think you should, because it's just changing the world that we live in, and I think we should be informed, and I think we could use it for our own benefit, but also be aware of its limitations, because we are nuanced queens. Remember your own goals for learning and why it's worth trying and worth caring and not just getting the answer because you can, and then I think it's a pretty useful tool. I am so keen to hear your thoughts on ChatGPT, on AI in education. Do you use it? Is it banned in your school? What do you think about it? Like, anything. I'm just so intrigued. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want more videos on how to prompt AI best or just more thoughts, let me know. And I hope you have a gorgeous rest of your day. Sending you so much love. Bye.